Here we go, boys and girls. What's up? It's a Wednesday for the Bostonian versus the Book. My name is Matt Peralta. We are live on YouTube and X at Boston versus the Book. We are replayed on Sports Grid Television, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific time across this great country and heck, across the entire globe. We are on Sports Grid each and every single weekday and replayed wherever you guys, when you need audio podcasts, BVB is there. If you've not hit subscribe yet, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching back on YouTube, do us a favor. Do me a favor. We're trying to build some momentum towards 2026. So I am really excited about where we're going to take the program in 26. We've got some big announcements from a hat perspective and a gear perspective. Corbin is working. I just got the email like literally for Cyber Monday. So you guys, if you're looking around for something that, you know, maybe it's a gift you need to get for yourself or somebody else or whatever it might be, I'm trying to get it up for Cyber Monday where we actually have our store. I met with Corbin. We're doing a brigade show today, okay? Chad the Dad, remember him? Well, Chad the Dad won 35 dimes yesterday. And Chad the Dad's alive in Circa Survivor. So I will talk to him. We'll talk to him coming up here in about 15 minutes. So that's your one brigade member. He's jumping on today. Corbin, another brigade member, has been doing some incredible work for us behind the scenes, setting this up. The store is coming. Okay. We're going to get this done. We're going to have hats and t-shirts and some cool stuff coming up. So looking forward to one, talking to Chad, two, getting that up and running for us here, and we'll have it at some point. So if you are a recruit and you're new, that's what we call you guys who are new. If you have not gone and hit subscribe to the YouTube channel, please do so. If you have someone in your family who watches this show who has not gone and hit subscribe yet, please do so. We're trying to build the momentum coming up for 26. So get us there, hit subscribe. Look, there are channels that have hundreds of thousands of subscribers. We're trying to get to 3. Okay. We're on a whole different level here, but we're trying to get to 3. So try it. Will they, excuse me, will they deliver to Canada? As far as I know, Jimmy Football, there's going to be no restrictions. We should be able to deliver to India, to be quite honest. So I don't expect problems. This has always been the question with the store as to how we run it. Okay. How do we get it run? I don't know. I'm not really sure in terms of the back end, except that we just went and got Corbin, and he is now working for a local company here in Vegas. And he has told me, I met the owner, I met Corbin, we sat down, we talked about what I wanted, what we were looking for, and we're going to start small. Okay. There's going to be basically like, 2 or 3 hat models, 2 or 3 t-shirt models, a hoodie, and that's kind of it. And they're going to handle all the back end shipping. The embroidery from the hats will be done by Corbin. Okay. So, this is going to be good. Okay. I'm talking about 3,000 subscribers, Sonic. Don't be smart. Come on now. You know what I'm talking about. I said hundreds of thousands. We have 3. That's what I said. Hundreds of thousands. We have 3,000. That's what I meant by that. But that has always been the issue of, okay, I'm trying to do a show. I can't add anything extra. I can't do what Dave did. I can't go to Lids and spend a full day making hats because Dave would do that. Literally, he would go and he would have like a list of people over the course of like 2 or 3 months that all wanted hats. He would go hang out with Corbin and they'd make hats all day. I can't do that. I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the time. I don't have the ability to do that. So I needed something to be done on the professional side of things that I could trust. Like, okay, when I hand this over, do you know what we want? Like, are you part of the brigade? Do you get it? Or am I just a number? Like, here you go. You're 18,000 number 1. I've been dealing with a big box store all morning about a delivery that was supposed to be here today. And I woke up and they said, sorry, we canceled the delivery. Wait, what? How? Why? And now I'm just a number. Hey, your order number 89567892, whatever it is, right? No, I did not want that. For whomever we did business with, I was not going to be just a number. I wanted someone to appreciate, understand the sensitivity, what when we do always forward, never straight shirts, when those are going to be available, what does that mean? Why is that important? So I've always been very careful with this. Dave was a stickler for quality. Like he was not interested in putting this logo on anything that was going to be shoddy, anything that was going to disintegrate once you washed it. Like he was always about the quality. And so Corbin knows this. Corbin understands all of this. So we don't have to worry about any of this stuff. Okay. So like this is why when it was time to get this done, when it was time to do it, that's the guy I knew I wanted to do it with. And then it just happened to where he left Lids and he went to this company here in Vegas who can operate and do everything that he was doing for us at Lids. So it worked out perfectly well. So again, Chad the Dad coming on here in about 10 minutes. We'll get to him talking about his big run. He had a really good night last night. So we'll explain how he wound up being one of the last two survivors in the Splash Sports Anytime Touchdown Survivor Pool that had $75,000 in the prize pool. He is one of the winners. Two people, they split it. They chopped the pot. So we'll get to that. And he is available. He's alive in the Circa Survivor contest, which only has, I think it's 915 entries left. Our guy, Adam Bjorn, has 2. He's got 2. He'll join us tomorrow. We'll talk to him. It's getting to the good time. Like this is the crunch time for these survivor pools, for these contests. We're starting to get into the money-making time for people will start to cash big checks. So good stuff coming up with Chad the Dad here in about 10 minutes. That's right. I've been ranting and raving. Opening line for us being brought to you by Huel. Let's talk college football. It's a Wednesday. A lot is going on with the CFP, but these folks better be careful. Specifically, the Big Ten better be careful. Nobody is interested in a 24-team playoff but them. And they keep on talking about this. And I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's the right move for college football. In fact, I think it could be really detrimental to the future of college football. All right, it is the opening line being presented by Huel. I'm serious about this 2014 playoff idea being an absolute disaster. It is an absolute disaster. And it's now getting more steam because of what is going on in the bracket, the 12-team bracket. Because how many 10-win teams are going to be left out of the college football playoff? And there could be a couple of Big Ten teams that are left on the sidelines. And that could make the Big Ten folks really, really mad. But the answer is not 24. Opening line being brought to you by Huel. If you are busy like me and you have thought about buying this stuff, I'm telling you, I just had it for breakfast this morning. I am a big believer in this meal replacement company. The taste is tremendous. I use the chocolate and the vanilla Black Edition protein powder. I use it for a 200-calorie shake. You can do it for a 400-calorie shake. This is 40 grams of plant-based protein, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no artificial sweeteners. It's gluten-free. It is vegan, and it tastes great. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched their prepackaged and their greens drink in Target nationwide. You can try Huel with 15% off your first purchase for new customers with an order of at least $75. Use the code BVB when you check out. That's Huel.com/BVB to go ahead and jump in with that. Huel makes healthy eating simple. Okay. Let's talk about what's going on here, because I think a lot of people are going to have to catch up as to what's happening with the playoffs. Okay. The Big Ten has proposed a 24-team playoff ahead of the deadline, which will be December the 1st. They have to make the deadline for 27. They got to make this because next year we have 12. And then that is the last time we will have a 12-team playoff. We will then expand. What we will be expanding to, we don't know yet. The SEC and the Big Ten have been fighting like crazy. Now, last night, we did get a chance to see what the bracket looked like up to this point. Here is your Week 12 bracket for college football. Your number 1 seed being Ohio State, number 2 seed being Indiana. Both those teams being Big Ten teams, significant in my mind. You've got a 3-seeded Texas A&M, a 4-seeded Georgia. Alabama's loss dropped them from the bye, the 1, 2, 3, 4 position, down to the 10th position. Alabama almost on the way out after their loss to Oklahoma. Oklahoma is now in after being on the bubble last week. They are now firmly in the 8-9 game, hosting a game now against Notre Dame, which is huge. The winner would go play Ohio State. Tulane is now the group of 5 representative. They are in. Tulane gets the 12 seed up against Texas Tech on the road. Oregon would be the host for the Alabama game, and Miami is in. Is your 12-team playoff. There are plenty of people who are trying to poke holes in why are the Irish a 9 seed? Why is Bama so far down at a 10 seed? If Alabama loses in the Iron Bowl, they are out. What do you make of Georgia being the 4 there and A&M being the 3 if Georgia beats A&M in the championship game of the SEC? Where does Georgia go? So there's a million conversations and issues going on with all of this. But in the backdrop of this conversation about the now, as to what's going on right now, is this like slow heartbeat for what the Big Ten's trying to do? And I saw this morning and I went, wait, hold on a second. So we know that Fox is heavily in bed with the Big Ten, right? And Joel Klatt is one of Fox's main college football analysts, one of the main guys, works alongside Gus Johnson. He has proposed what a 24-team playoff would look like. Like, this is maddening. This is absolutely insanity that we are actually even entertaining the idea of having a 24-team playoff. Just forget the bracket as to what team is where. Just look at that bracket. Look at the confusion that would come out of that. Look at the number of arguments that would come out of that. College basketball and college football are not the same sport. They're just different, okay? Do we need... This is beyond what the FCS ever did. It's been a 16-team playoff for 1AA for as long as I can remember. I'm 48 years old. A 24-team playoff for a college football bracket is idiotic. This is absolutely idiotic to even think that we could get that done. That would anybody actually want this? Is anybody looking for this? Because college football better be careful. Because people can do other things with their time. We saw an awesome jump in the beginning part of the year. The ratings for college football were sky high. In September, people were all about it. But have you noticed what has happened in college football since? We have seen a steady progression down with the ratings. Why? Because the games aren't that good right now. And everybody knows that we're waiting for the playoff. This is the thing that the NFL was able to grab a hold of, because the NFL said, hey, we're going to have a bunch of standalone games on Thursday and on Sunday night and on Monday night. We're going to dominate. We have the biggest population centers and we have the biggest platforms, and we're going to dominate the sports world. College football does not have that luxury. College football can play on Thursdays, Maction on Wednesdays. They can play Saturday morning and Saturday night, and they can take over Saturday, but they can't touch anything else. They've been boxed in. That's why they've played on Friday night. That's why the Big Ten now is doing Friday night, because there's nowhere for college football to go. The NFL has dominated now, has taken over the landscape, and you can't go up against an NFL game if you're a college football program or conference, because you're going to lose, and you know you're going to lose. So now you're trying to find other ways of getting people's attention. This is dangerous in the transfer portal era, in the NIL world, where fans are getting confused as to what player is playing where, what team is good and what team is not. And at the end of the day, this is now coming back to the old fight of the SEC against the Big Ten. This has been an age-old fight for a long time. And these two conferences are trying to flex and trying to say, well, it's my way or the highway. I want this, so I'm going to get this. I'm an SEC guy, all right? I spent time covering Alabama and Auburn. I spent 5 years there. So I tend to say, yes, I agree. It just means more in the SEC, okay? But the 5-11 model is the most logical model. It just is. With 5 at-large bids, 4 power conference at-large bids, 1 group of 5, and then 11 at-large bids. The problem for the Big Ten, and this is where they show their insecurity, is that they believe that in that model, they are going to have their schools be left out because the SEC, they call it SEC bias, whatever you want to call it, their schools will get selected over the Big Ten schools. Now, if you're the ACC or you're the Big 12, you're not even in this conversation. You're not even having this conversation. But Greg Sankey, who is the SEC commissioner, is starting to talk loudly about the fact that we can't agree right now, but we need to go, the quote was, quote, the move to 16 should be a priority for all of us in conference leadership. The SEC is putting their flag down. They want 16. Okay. They can't expand next year, but this is the deadline that they have self-imposed. And now that even that deadline seems to be a little bit wishy-washy, like that deadline is not 100% steady. Nobody wants this Big Ten. Nobody wants 24. Everybody, I think, with a brain understands that 12 probably isn't enough, that 16 is a good number, and get rid of the buys. Like, let's just play. Everybody plays. 16 teams. 1 plays 16. 2 plays 15. Let's go. When we have 12, that's why we have to do the buys and the high seed and the 1 seed and the 2 seed and the 3 seed, like all that argument. 16 is a good number. But you have to have automatic qualifying because, again, you must be awarded for winning your conference, and I do not want the conference championship games to go away. If there's a 24-team playoff, why would you bother having a conference championship game? It would be gone. Nobody would play it. It would hurt you. It wouldn't help you. I want that carrot at the end of the year to be there for, hey, don't worry about some dude at a conference table in a Holiday Inn telling you you're not that good. Because guess what, Indiana? You have a chance to be the 1 seed. If you beat Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, Indiana's the 1 seed. That's good. Let's determine this on the field. Let's play this out the way it's supposed to be played out. Let's not make arguments about, hey, on paper, this team just doesn't really meet the eye test. I can't stand that. I've been talking about this topic. I'm 48 years old. I've been talking about this since I was 20 years old, and I moved to Virginia, or 21, when I moved to Virginia. And I started covering the ACC, and the BCS was a thing. And I remember in a bar going, the BCS doesn't make any sense. Why are we having computers tell us who the top 2 teams are? That's dumb. Why don't we play this on the field? And I'm from UMass. I'm watching in 1998. I'm watching UMass come out of nowhere and win the national championship by going through the bracket. Nobody thought UMass was going to win the championship that year. They were like a 6 seed, and they won the national championship because Marshall Shipp had an incredible run. And Mark Whipple, who went on to be the OC for the Steelers and other people, Mark Whipple had an incredible year calling plays for UMass, and they went and won the national championship. So, that has to happen in college football, I think, for people to understand how cool the playoff bracket really is. Last year, it was a disaster, right? Last year didn't work all that well. It was all blowouts. And the first round games might be all blowouts again. But 12 teams is better than what we had. 16 teams is the sweet spot. And I know all these 24-team playoff people in the Big Ten, you're trying to flex this because you're worried. You're on an island. Nobody wants this. Okay. And you're going to diminish the regular season even more by trying to pull this. 16 teams, 5 auto bids, 11 at large. I don't even like the fact that we got to give a group of 5 team an at large bid, but we do. Okay. I don't like that, but the legality of it, you have to. Because if you don't, they're going to court and it's going to get ugly. So you have to allow the Tulanes of the world. You have to allow the Memphises of the world to have a shot to get into the playoff. Okay. It just, Boise, nobody ever from the Mountain West will ever be, a top 5 seed again, but fine. Like they have to find their way in. You can't seed them. They should be seeded wherever they need to. 12 is where they'll probably live, and that's fine. But we can build a 16-team bracket that's fun, that's aggressive, that's fair with auto bids. And the fact that the Big Ten doesn't want auto bids. The Big Ten wants it to be all at large. And I just don't think that that's smart. The other model the Big Ten wants, they want 4 automatic bids for every conference. 4 auto bids from the SEC, 4 auto bids from the Big Ten, 4 it's 2 and 2 from the ACC and the Big 12. It's just asinine. It makes no sense whatsoever. So let's see how it plays out. December 1st is like around the corner. They got to make a decision. And I hope the Big Ten cooler heads prevail and we actually get a deal done. Because I think everyone's on the SEC side, which is a rarity. I think most people agree with the SEC. Not many people besides Big Ten people are on this idea of playing a 24-team bracket. No, thank you. Okay, let's talk some picks. Not my picks. Let's talk betting, winning, and the brigade. All fun things. He's back. He's Chad the Dad. What's up, dude? Good to see you again. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Matt. Good to see you again.
All right. So we got 2 contests to talk about. First and foremost, the Splash Sports contest, the Anytime Touchdown Survivor Pool. We ran one of these. Ours was over fast. Yours went all the way to last night. How did you strategically get to this point? And then were you nervous that the chop was not going to go down because you wanted to chop? You have since chopped the 75K. So you had a very good morning.
Yeah. So I've actually never done a touchdown survivor pool. This was my first time. I was on Splash Sports, heard some people talking about it. Said, hey, $50, I'll give it a shot. So went into this just, looking at different options, really didn't have much of a strategy as time went on, really focused on running backs. It seems they get in the end zone the most. Kind of a look at anytime touchdown kind of odds, also kind of focused on kind of the higher point totals. So that was kind of where my brain was at. And then, we get all the way to what was week 11. We were down to 16 people. So I was like, okay, this is getting down to the nitty gritty. Obviously, I wanted to go Travion Henderson, your boy from New England, on Thursday night. But my Circus Survivor pick was the Patriots. We had the backyard brawl going on the Hoops edition. So I was like, I just can't have all my eggs in one basket. Henderson goes on to score 3 touchdowns, gets 1 entry through. Only one person selected him. So then for 2 days, I was like, man, I messed up. I am so done. I'm out of this thing. Like my mind was everywhere. I was like, okay, I'll go Jaylen Warren. I'm a Steelers fan, but Steelers throw for 80% of their touchdowns. I said, that seems awfully risky. I was like, okay, Rico Dowdle from the Panthers. Well, they had a 41-point total. I was like, there might not be a lot of points in that game. So about midnight on Saturday night, after a few adult beverages, watching some UFC, I said, I'm going Trey McBride. First time I'd gone with a pass catcher the entire time.
Whoa.
And
for the Cardinals,
so
you go with McBride.
Morning. What's that?
So you weren't nervous about the quarterback for the Cardinals it wasn't Kyler Murray you were banking on. It was Jacoby Brissett you were banking on.
Yeah. So, living in Raleigh, obviously Jacoby Brissett's an NC State legend here in Raleigh. Trey McBride had scored 4 touchdowns, 4 straight games with Jacoby under center. San Francisco's defense a little dinged up, especially on the passing defense. So, I don't know why I locked that in, but I locked it in. It, like I said, went to bed and I said, that's what I'm going to roll with. You wake up Sunday morning. I think 4 people were on HN for the Dolphins, obviously over Siege. He got folded in half like a chair at the 1 yard line, didn't get in. Couple people on Jaylen Warren, which I thought was a great pick. Everyone, of course, Kenny G for the Steelers kind of took over the backfield that game. So we get to the 4 o'clock games, then I'm sweating this out watching Jacoby Brissett throw the ball. I think he set the regular season record for 47 completions.
Yes.
They also had to have set at least a team record, if not an NFL record, for penalties that game. There must have been. I think they had over 20 penalties. Very stressful game to watch. Was not enjoying myself whatsoever. But with about 8 minutes left in the game, I just see Trey McBride streaking down the middle of the field, and he hits him for the touchdown. So with that being said, there were still 10 people left. I was like, okay there's 10 of us. Find it. So I'm tuning into Sunday Night Football. No picks on Sunday Night Football. I thought that was surprising. We get to Monday Night Football. All 8 remaining entries that had not moved on yet were all on the Monday night game, 7 being on Javonte Williams and then 1 being on Genty for the Raiders.
Whoa.
So watching that game was quite stressful. So it really didn't sink in until Dallas decided to start taking some knees with 2.5 minutes left, which I've personally never seen a team take a knee before the 2-minute warning in my lifetime. So I probably should send a Christmas card over to Cowboys coach there. But because I thought for sure, I was like, oh, they're at the 5-yard line. They're just going to run because they're running the clock out, but they'll probably just run this in. And then obviously didn't score. And then, wake up or basically Monday night, realize there's only 2 of us left. So.
Well, then you wound up, okay, so it's $75K that's in the pot. It's just the 2 of you. Did you have any thought of playing it out, or it was always, I want to chop, let's see if we can just take it's $50 turning it into, obviously 35 times you're taking it and running. What was your thought process as to what to do with week 12?
So if anyone's been in a pool with me, they know I'm Mr. Anti-chop. I refuse to chop. I like to play it out. Obviously, I like to gamble a little bit. I originally was like, I don't want to. But I was like, there's 2 of us. This was a $50 entry. To turn that into $37.5 that's – so I obviously went through Splash Sports, read through the fine print. They said, hey, once you get within 10 people, if someone suggests it, you have to put the recommendation in before Tuesday. And then you'll have till Thursday. If everyone remaining agrees, then we'll chop the pot. So I went ahead and just submitted that Tuesday morning. I was like, you know what? I'll put the ball in his court. Like, I'm ready to go. I got Jamar Gibbs I've saved. He's minus 200 this week. I was already ready to roll. But also, didn't want to be too stupid about that. So basically, I went in, I submitted it. It was a long day. That's when I ended up reaching out to you about, hey, if this guy doesn't split, like, what are my hedging options, like, with an anytime touchdown?
You didn't have them. I mean, that's why I'm so glad you guys split, because, like, in Circa Survivor, you can hedge. I mean, Circa will give you, if you have an entry right now, we'll get to it, and you do. We'll get to it in a second. But, like, if you wanted to start betting against the entry, they know the implied value of what the entry is worth. They will let you go ahead and bet against it and take out a marker and bet against it. They won't let you run up a gigantic bill, but they'll let you run a bill up at Circa if you have a relationship with them and you've bet at them. So, like, but anytime touchdown, there's no way you could bet a no on it, but there's no one that's going to let you get down anywhere closer. You can win $35,000, $37,000. Like, no one's taking that action on a prop bet. So I thought you were in kind of a difficult spot when it came to hedging, but I'm glad that you went chop, because that was my recommendation was, chop that thing. Absolutely. Each of you take down $37K.
Yeah, no, I thought about every possible option, because I don't think I know Circa typically offers the no on the anytime touchdown. I don't believe any of the books here in North Carolina, DraftKings, FanDuel, I don't believe that's an option. I thought every possible scenario from, okay, well, if I'm taking Gibbs, maybe I just bet on other Lions to score, but then that's a slippery slope, because if we both move on, we got 6 more weeks to go. I was like, maybe I bet on his pick. That's the only way at this point I could really lose. And then, but I don't know his pick until the game starts. So then it's a live bet. And how much is DraftKings letting me get down on that? Maybe $1,000, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
So there was just a lot of thought put in that. And plus with the touchdown survivor, talk about Circa Survivor. We'll get into that. That's a sweat, but this is completely different. I mean, one turned ankle, one, concussion. I mean, you name it. I mean, so I was like, Gibbs seems like a no-brainer to score this week. And I'm sure he's going to score 4 touchdowns now that we've chopped. But Yeah, I mean, I was like, I can't risk this. He goes, takes one funny turn, ankles out. All of a sudden, it's just down the drain. So it made a lot of sense. If there was a hedging option, I would have probably figured it out, or with your help or whoever else's help. But yeah, it just made sense to kind of get it. Plus, my wife might have killed me. So
yeah, right. If she had found out, hey, by the way, you could have taken 37.5. Oh yeah, you got 0. Yeah, I mean, I'm a gambler. I like to gamble. It's gambling fun, but guaranteed money and limiting profit. You made the right decision. Like, just kick your heels up and say, okay, this is good. You've had a very profitable season. This is, for $50. But the difference with this contest, $50 versus 1,000 with Circa, you have an entry live in the Circa Survivor, which is down to about 913 entries. What's the philosophy going into this? Now that you've cleared the 37 dimes on the Anytime Touchdown Survivor, do you become more aggressive in Circa because of that? Or do you sit there and say, okay, I'm going to play this out the way I would normally. Let's just go ahead and take, the same opinion we were going to have anyway.
Yeah, great question. I mean, I don't think I want to deviate strategy too much, but to your point, as we get a little later into the year, I do think that's time to maybe take a little more risk. My goal for Circa Survivor, this is my 3rd year entering. I think I made it to week 10 in my first year.
Okay.
So this is obviously getting through week 11 is the farthest I've made it yet. My goal is always to get to Thanksgiving. I think if you can get to the, obviously they have the wrinkle with the holiday weeks that I'm sure most people are familiar with at this point. But
after this week, it gets dicey. It gets tough.
I mean, it gets very dicey for Thanksgiving and honestly, Christmas. I mean, if I'm still alive, obviously would be a good problem to have, but that is looking very dicey with the Broncos, Chiefs. You got Lions at the Vikings. I think I've used the Cowboys. I was thinking about Commanders, but I think they might be packing it in. So I don't think it's going to change my strategy too much. The one thing, obviously I was always saving the Ravens and the Eagles to have a choice for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So I'm looking at it now, like I just want to get to Thanksgiving. So honestly, with the thought of Joe Burrow coming back on Thanksgiving, I mean, I'm thinking going Ravens this week and then that way I get Eagles for Black Friday.
Okay.
I do think the Bears might be a little bit on fraud alert. Great season so far. But if you look at the underlying metrics, I mean, I think there's some gaps with the Bears right now and maybe a little lucky to win some games.
Yeah.
But I know everyone probably was saving Philadelphia from the beginning. A lot of people burnt Baltimore early. So then it was like, oh, if you have Baltimore for Thanksgiving, you're in a great spot because the Bengals are, going to bingle this thing up. But now with Burrow coming back, it adds a little bit of a
totally different wrinkle. Yeah. And a totally different. Oh, but would you take the Chiefs? You use KC there?
Well, I mean, but you got to have someone for Christmas because I've used the Cowboys. So, for Christmas, that would leave me. Chiefs would be the biggest favorite I have for Christmas. And obviously that's a Broncos game, so definitely not a guarantee. I mean, I've used the Lions, so, I could use the Vikings at home as underdogs. And then you got
I mean, if you get all the way to Christmas and you're stuck with the Commanders to win the Circa Survivor or keep your entry alive, that's brutal. Like, that's going to be just like, oh my, if you have to worry about, it's a home team at least, but yikes. That wouldn't be
good. And it's at least week 17. So I'd like to think if I'm still alive at that point, I'm monetizing my entry, which is always my goal. I think a lot of people, there's a misconception of, hey, you got to win this to win the money. No, there's a lot of money to be made if you can make it that far too. So at least that's a little different conversation.
Let's talk about that. So the implied value of your entry right now is $20,000. So you obviously, we're talking about 18 plus million, and obviously taking that down is what everyone's goal is. But when would you consider hedging? Like, when would you start to bet against your entry?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to get through Thanksgiving. I think that's going to weed out a lot of people. I think one, maybe just lack of planning for the holiday. Two, obviously could be some upsets along the way. I mean, we saw that, I think last year, was it? I think everyone was on the Packers and then the Lions beat them or vice versa on Thanksgiving. So I think you got to get through the first Thanksgiving, and then you obviously got the quick turnaround. So I think if you can get through week 13, so you got basically a pick this week, you'll have the Thanksgiving and then the actual week 13 pick. I think at that point for me is when I would start looking at, okay, what are my options to maybe start going against that? But I don't want to get into that too soon because, that's you start throwing a lot of money around. But and then obviously we get towards Christmas. I mean, you might be seeing me at Circa. I might have to talk to Benson and company about what we got to offer over there.
Yeah, it would be phenomenal. I think it's going to be So we're at what, 913, I said, for number of entries that are
I
left.
saw 939. 939.
Let me see.
Somewhere in that range.
Yep, you're right. Exactly. 939. Okay, so we have 939 entries that are now available with an applied entry of $19,934. What do you think that number looks like after the next, not after this week, and then you have to make 3 picks in 2 weeks, basically. So it's, it's hard enough to get to this point. Now you got to make 3 picks in 2 weeks. So let's just say you do make those picks and you get through. What's the number after the weekend? So this is week 12, and then week 13 and week 14. So after week 14 of Survivor, how many entries are left in your mind?
I'm looking at this week, a lot of heavy favorites. Again, depending on who people have, I think a lot of people have Seahawks available. Obviously, a lot of people have the Ravens available, probably thinking the same thing as me. Maybe we're kind of holding them back for Thanksgiving, and now it's like just burn them on the Jets. My guess would be about 500, and that maybe 600. I just think I see Kevin saying 350.
Kevin said 350.
I'd love it to be 350. Hopefully, if I'm one of them, for sure. But
I think it gets cut in half. I think you're right. I think we're looking at 450 to 500 entries are left after we get through the week after Thanksgiving, that pick week. I think you're going to be left with about half. It gets more complicated, and in the beginning, you have a lot of fat, obviously, right? You have like this huge 18,000 entry, and then it starts to get like knocked down consistently because a lot of people have 10 entries. So they're playing different strategies, they're playing different paths. And so you have a lot of people that are willing to sacrifice different entries. Now, I know someone with 2 entries, you have 1. There aren't going to be many people that have multiple entries, like the 4 to 5 to 6 ratio now that we're down to about 9, like you said, 939. So I think you see more of the, like, this is my real pick. Like, people's strategies are locked in. And so it's more difficult, I think, to lose to a big number of entries, unless there's a, 14-point favorite that goes down and takes down like half of it. I think you're probably looking at half. Do we get to Christmas then? Does the contest in your mind go to Christmas?
Oh, yeah. This thing's going to the end. You got to think last week we were down to 50 people or something, like 5 weeks in. I think I was out by week 4 last year. And even that made it, I think, 5 people to the very end. So it's definitely going to make it to the end for sure. But at some point you could I just want to make it to the end. I think that'd be fun. Even if it ended today, that's still 20 grand, and it's not going to, it's obviously, like you said, it's probably going to chop in half over the next few weeks. So, get to the end, there could be a couple $100,000, maybe $1 million each for if there's 18 people. So, still a lot to play for. That'd be a lot of fun to be out there.
How many chopped last year? 12, 13?
I'm not sure what that.
It was a big number last year. They all got 900,000. Like, everybody made it all the way to the end, got almost $1 million. So I think you're right. I think once we get down to it, it is so much money. It's $1,000 into $1 million. And you said you're the guy that wouldn't chop. There is always that one guy who decides, I'm not shopping for anything. I want no part of it. And the rest of you are like, what are you doing? We have to chop. So I'll be curious to see how it all plays out and to see if you've changed your tune on no chopping, if you chop both contests that you're in.
I'm not trying to be the next Sean Perry out here.
There you go.
I'm not trying to go that route. We all know that story. I'm not that guy. I am able to be reasoned with, like I did for the touchdown. So I'm not saying I wouldn't, but I understand why there's some pushback, especially when there's a large number of people, because it's okay, I want this to be life-changing type money,
Heck yeah, you're right. What is your handle? What is your team name if folks want to follow along for you on Circus Survivor?
Yeah, Chad the Dad, entry 1 or entry 2, because I think I had 2 originally and I lost my first one. So
all right, so entry 2. All right, my friend. Thank you for coming on. Best of luck. We'll be monitoring you before we let you go. Do you have a lean for this week as to what you're taking? I know it's only on Wednesday, so you get some time, but any thoughts as to what you're backing?
Yeah, I think I'm likely going Ravens this week, and then just going to go with Philly on Black Friday. I want to get through this week. I'm about to head down to Charleston, South Carolina to watch a little college basketball, see West Virginia, Clemson, Georgia, Xavier, taking the kids down there. So we're heading on the road tomorrow. So I was like, I kind of just want to get through this week. I think the Ravens are in a good spot against the Jets. I think the Jets obviously just diminished. I think maybe even, I think it might be a step up with Tyrod at quarterback, but they've traded away half their team. So I'd like to see the Ravens, obviously being a Steelers fan, a little worried the Ravens creeping up on us, but I do think they go handle their business. So assuming I'm going to be on Baltimore, and then that kind of locks me in for Philly for the holiday week.
Well, I tell you what, right before Thanksgiving, if you're going to go away, it's not bad to put 37 dimes in the bank account and move on to Circa Survivor for you. So we'll be pulling for you, man. Congrats on the Anytime Touchdown Survivor W, and let's hopefully get you another one here for Circa Survivor.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Talk to you soon.
That is Chad the Dad, BBB Brigade member, joining us here on the Bostonian versus the book. Great to get him on the program. And you guys, if you ever have stories like that, absolutely reach out to me and hold on. Hey, that's not what I want. I wanted that. Sorry. Absolutely reach out to me and let me know, because I would love to highlight whatever you guys going on. So if you have an entry, obviously Chad's got one, Adam Bjorn's got two. Anybody else alive in Circa Survivor? If you are, let me know. We'd love to throw you on the show and have conversations about what your strategy is going to be going into this, because it's 18 million plus. This is not a small amount of money. This is a lot of money going on here. And the folks at Circa are really busy because they've got the launch for Missouri coming up on December the 1st. So, they're running with their hair on fire at the moment, trying to get everything squared away for the Missouri launch. So, normally we would have been talking people to Circa, but I think we'll have Benson on at some point after the launch in Missouri. We'll put Benson on once we get down to, once we get through Thanksgiving and through the Sunday afterwards. So week 14 for Survivor. I think we're at 400, 450, somewhere in that range. Like we're cutting this in half, and then it really gets dicey. Then you start really daydreaming about how much money you could take down. $1 million, 2 million, or more, depending on how the whole thing falls. Circa wants one person. That's what they want. Circa would prefer the people don't chop. Circa would prefer to have a check ceremony with 1 or 2 people, not 12 or 15. But that's what it's been because of how much money this thing is. It's 18 million this year. It'll be 20, 22 million next year. There is no stopping the growth for Circa Survivor. Circa Millions is going to hit the threshold as to like 6 million, 7 million. That's kind of the threshold for Circa Million. But the Survivor contest has no ceiling, and it will go, I think, every year up, and more money into the pool. Very cool. Congratulations to Chad. That's completely awesome to have that. Yeah, Vinny, I wouldn't mind doing a BVB team next year. That's true. That's not a horrible idea for us to do a BVB team. Here's the problem. How in the hell are we picking? How are we doing that? I could do it for us and I could represent the brigade, but if the brigade's going to make a play, I have done this. Okay. I have done where I have allowed the audience to bet my money. It went horrifically. Now, this is with the Daily Juice, but with the Daily Juice, it was 1 in 15. I think it was over 16 weeks. Like it was going to bankrupt me. It just didn't work. It was awful. So how in the world are we discussing what team to take in Circa Survivor? The only way to do it would be by voting, right? You come up with a poll and you go ahead and, and say, okay, here are our 5 options for Circa Survivor. Who are we taking? But how do you do that? This show is not the biggest show, but we've had numbers being pulled, right? Over the last 6 months, you guys might be kind of amazed at the number of people, individual people that have watched this show over the last 6 months. It's a big number. It's a really, really big number. So how do we find a pick with that many people to come in and it's $1,000 entry. It was one thing when I was making my little 1 unit plays myself, right? I didn't mind losing that. That was fine. That was an experiment. But $1,000? Oh boy. I'm not sure I'm trusting anybody but myself with a dime to go into an entry and go and make it. I will be in the Circa Survivor and Circa Million more next year. It's just what happens with the proxy service. There's all these questions right now going on with the proxy service. There will be announcements. There will be some type of I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but just know that there's stuff going on. We will still be involved with proxy services. We will still be involved with Circa Survivor, Circa Million. We will 100% be involved. It's just that the brigade proxy service is going to be a little different than what it has been in the past. That was Dave's thing. Like, he was into that big time. So, and frankly, the reason why you trusted us was because of the trust you had in Dave. And I am fully aware of that. So, like, without him here, it's difficult to really do what we did, but we can still do it just in a different way than what happened. So that's how it's all going to figure out. But I will be involved 100%. Google forum. A Google forum would be disastrous. We could do it, but I mean, again, if you have, let's just do 100 people, right? So you have 100 people and 60 of those people are on one side and 40 of the people are on the next, and the 60 goes down and the 40 gets to yell at the 60. How's that work? Right? How do we prevent just like massive anger going on in the brigade? I don't want the brigade to fight with each other. So good stuff out of Chad. Let's talk about what happened last night. A couple things in the sports world. Then we'll get to the first look at the college games Saturday and the NFL games coming up on Sunday. What happened last night is right there. By the way, Sonic has added a couple things to our sound bar. We now have that sound. And we also have the sound effect. So we have some different sound effects thanks to Sonic that we can go ahead. Yes, a BVB team. Oh, the arguments would be ridiculous. it would be ridiculous because if we got it wrong, people will be pissed off. And I get it. I mean, it's like, oh, I told you that was the wrong pick. Why did we do that? Would happen. Just telling you, that wouldn't be as smooth as you would think if we chose to do that. That would be a little on the difficult side. What happened last night? Man, Kentucky, they got smoked. Coach Pope was down big time. Some people said it was as low. Oh, sorry, wrong one. It was as low as they had ever seen a coach in a game in November. They got throttled. He held himself accountable. He said, this was on me. The team is poorly coached. Michigan State ruined Kentucky. They could not hit a jump shot to save their life last night. The Duke and Kansas game was equally boring in the end. A double-digit win. Duke won and covered that 14-point spread last night. So the Guardians, the Champions Classic was pretty boring. Yeah, for last night, we didn't have two great basketball games. Duke is very good. Duke is deep. I think Michigan State has a roster. I mean, Michigan State with Tom Izzo, they're going to be a problem in the Big Ten. They're going to be a problem throughout the entire season. Wins over Arkansas and now Kentucky. So Michigan State doing some damage against the SEC. LeBron James last night, double-double. Assists, not rebounds, but points and assists for LeBron. He was awesome. The Jazz got blown out at LA. 140 points scored by the Lakers, who they continue to perform at a very high level. Luka was great last night. That's a dangerous basketball team right now. It's early, okay? It's November, so I'm not going to jump ahead to June or anything here with the Lakers. But that is a different Laker team with LeBron back on the court. And, you know, DeAndre Ayton made a joke after the game saying that was the second alley-oop that LeBron James has thrown to him in his life. The first of which was at LeBron's camp when DeAndre Ayton was a high schooler and LeBron threw him an alley-oop. So kind of a strange, how long LeBron's been in the NBA now, but season number 23 got off to a very good start for LeBron James. Speaking of the NBA, Steve Kerr is out ripping on the NBA for the schedule for the Warriors. He can't stand what the NBA has asked his team to do, and equally saying that injuries are now being caused by the NBA's increased pace of play, and that the soft tissue injuries we've seen with Victor Wembanyama, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, that these are injuries being suffered by the NBA stars because of the schedule that they're being asked to play. And because of the number of games these teams are being asked to play in a very short period of time. And it's an up-tempo game. That basketball is obviously a physical up-tempo game. And Steve Kerr believes that the pace of play, there's too many right now, too much being asked of the superstars. According to ESPN research, the league is playing at its fastest average collective pace since the 1988 and 89 seasons. Players per game this season at an average speed are playing at 4.43 miles per hour. That's the longest average distance and fastest average speed since player tracking began back in 2013 and 2014. Kerr said yesterday, quote, "Across the league, everyone understands that it's easier to score if you beat the opponent down the floor, get out in transition." This is basketball 101. But when everybody's doing that, the games are much higher paced. Everyone has to cover out 25 feet because everybody can shoot threes. We have all the data. Players are running faster and further than before. We're trying to do the best we can, but we basically have a game every other night. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, Kerr wants to drop the league from 82 games down to 72 games. And so he's using this current injury streak for star players. He's using this to push that agenda that he wants to shrink the NBA season by 10 games. Look, I think every sport could have a conversation about shrinking its schedule. I think Major League Baseball could shrink its schedule. The NFL is going the other way. They're going up to 18 games at some point in the near future. But you've got all of these different teams playing a very similar style. That goes in cycles. So I don't want to use the pace of play as a way of dropping the league from 82 games down to 72 games because, I've lived in my lifetime, I've seen the Pistons, the bad boy Pistons and the Rodman Pistons, right? And then you watch the Pistons last night with Cade Cunningham and hello, that's a totally different team. So that's my issue with the whole thing of if we're making, fundamental changes to the game, basketball is going to be different in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years. So I think that's problematic. I think you got to be a little careful about saying, hey, let's make a change because of the pace of play in the NBA. Let's change and drop it down. I'm not in favor of that. I think that can be somewhat of a mistake to do that. All right, we got football. Let's talk college and then NFL. Let's start with USC and Oregon. The number is 10. It's 10. Okay, I'm a little surprised at how high this is, to be quite honest. But look, I understand Oregon's at home, and Oregon's a very difficult team to beat, but USC has a chance to really upend the apple cart here. If USC goes in and beats Oregon, there's going to be a lot of college football playoff implications. An 8-2 USC team and a 9-1 Oregon team. If USC wins, they're 9-2. Oregon loses, they're 9-2. And we have a logjam right behind the two undefeated teams in Indiana and Ohio State for teams that will wind up winning 10 games. And you don't have room for all of them in a 12-team playoff. So that is significant. In terms of how this game winds up going, well, it's on the West Coast. So you can throw out all the arguments about the fact that USC can't win, even though they have won some games in the Eastern or Central time zones. This game is at Oregon. At home this year, Oregon is 4-2 ATS, while USC is 1-3 ATS. They've won 3 games in a row, and 4 of the last 5. They did not cover in their last game against Iowa. They won the game by 5 as 6.5-point favorites, but that was the game everybody thought they would lose because it was the rain and the cold and everything else that went into that. Game went under. Iowa covered, but USC got the W. Oregon blew out Minnesota last Friday night by 29. They laid 26.5. They covered that gigantic number. You have to at least at first blush, you have to like Oregon at home. Do I like them laying 10? That's why that number is where it is, because you got to throw it up somewhere high so the dog money can be played. The people are going to take the dog here and say USC can keep this close, but Oregon's the better football team. They're the better football team. Missouri and Oklahoma. This is the game of the week in the SEC. Missouri can be a little bit of a spoiler here. I think they have kind of an outside shot. I don't think Missouri gets in to the college football playoff, but I mean, they have an outside shot at 7-3. They run the table that maybe a 3-loss team can get in. They're not going to go and play in the SEC championship, but Oklahoma cannot lose this game. Oklahoma is 8-2. They cannot. They've lost to Texas and they lost to Ole Miss. They cannot lose to Missouri. In particular, at home, they cannot lose to Missouri. So this is a big game for Oklahoma. And the letdown spot. You go to Alabama, you beat the Tide in Tuscaloosa. Now you come home to face Missouri. It's a bigger game for Missouri than it is Oklahoma, even though there are playoff implications here. And at home this year, Oklahoma is 1-3-1 ATS. Missouri is 1-1 on the road. A really weird scheduling quirk for Missouri. They've played 2 games on the road. That's it. All year. 2. They won at Auburn and they lost at Vanderbilt. They then lost to A&M at home. They beat Mississippi State at home by 22 points in their last game. Oklahoma, on the flip side, has won 3 of 4. They lost their last home game, though, to Ole Miss, laying 5.5 points. They lost by 8. This is a fascinating game. At 8 points, I think Missouri's live. I like Missouri +8 here in that game. I think that's going to be a fun game to watch here. Big letdown spot potentially here coming up for Oklahoma. And the game of the week in the Big 12 is BYU on the road at Cincinnati. This game, okay, BYU, you're going to have to justify all the whining and crying you guys have been doing about you should be in to the playoff, and that the Utah AD is now on the committee, so you feel like you're not going to get a fair shake, but you're on the road at Nippert Stadium, and you're a 2.5-point road favorite. That's it. You're a 2.5-point road favorite. You're 3-2 away from home this year, BYU. You're 7-3 ATS overall. Cincy is 3-3 ATS at home and 6-4 ATS. They're 4-3. Both teams in the Big 12 are 4-3 against the number. Cincy has lost back-to-back games at Utah by 31 and at home to Arizona by 6. On the flip side, BYU, they lost to Texas Tech badly in their last home game, but they beat Iowa State. They beat Iowa State on the road, which is pretty impressive. They beat Arizona on the road. They beat Colorado, but didn't cover on the road. That's a pretty good resume for places to win on the road. But going to Cincinnati, BYU plays BYU ball. I think that they win, but they cannot even have a tiny hiccup in this game. At 9-1, they're clamoring, saying we have 1 loss. That's it. We lost to Texas Tech badly, but a lot of teams are going to lose to Texas Tech. We belong in the playoff. If they pound Cincinnati and get to 10-1, that might do it. That might get them into the playoffs. And then finally, Tulane. Tulane is part of the bracket. They are the group of 5 rep. They're at Temple. They're laying 8 at Temple coming up this weekend. This is a huge test. Memphis failed this test. They turned right around and they got smoked. That can't happen. If you're Tulane, you don't have any wiggle room here. You have to go out and dominate Temple and take care of business because you're supposed to. And if you do, you got a shot here at getting into the playoffs as the group of 5 representative. And frankly, I mean, I've been all over the place with Tulane. Going into the year, I was in love with Tulane. I was in love with Tulane. Then about halfway through the year, they stumbled mightily, and I bet them against Memphis. And I said, okay, and I bet against them. I bet Memphis against Tulane. That came back to bite me big time because Tulane played the best game of the year in that game against Memphis. Beat them 1-6 as 3-point road dogs. They beat Florida Atlantic in their last game. They laid 17. They won by 11. They lost to UTSA by 22 points. They lost to Ole Miss by 35 points. Those are the two losses on the schedule for Tulane. Temple is 7-3 ATS and 3-2 ATS at home. I don't think Temple is going to be a complete pushover here for Tulane. They better be ready to go here. That's a team from the South going north in November to Philadelphia to play Temple. I'd be a little on the careful side with that game here. I'm not sure I'm laying 8 points with Tulane up against Temple. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube or X, don't move. More to come in bonus time. If you're on the replay crew, thank you tomorrow. It's a Bet Chris Arizona Thursday with our guy Adam Bjorn. Thank you to Chad the Dad for joining us here today. Thank you guys for watching. We're back tomorrow, same place, same time. But for the rest of you guys, bonus time starts now. Okay. Okay. Jason McKissy, not horrible. Temple's going to win. James Madison gets in the playoffs after beating Washington State. Okay. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not angry on that. As to what's going on. I don't know. I guess we have been glitchy today, guys. I apologize for that. I don't know what's been 3 freezes in 1 day is a lot. I don't know why. That's interesting. I want maybe team rankings might cause the freezes. That might be one of the issues with team. That's why it's a website I look at a lot on the show. So maybe I can't look at that during the show. Maybe that's part of the problem. So okay, to the NFL. Our first look here for week 11. Sorry, week 12 of the NFL. So week 12 of the NFL. So these are all from our guy, Evan Abrams from the Action Network. He does his primer every week. He puts out tremendous stats. How about this? Teams with 60% of tickets are 38-66 against the spread through 11 weeks. That is the worst mark against the number for the public in the 23-year history of the Action Network database. So I'm not saying fade the public. That's a boring and very incorrect angle to take blindly. But if you're wondering about how the year is going for the sports books, this is your indication. Things are going very well for the sports books right now. When the public loads up on one side and they're all betting the same ticket, it has gone brutally for the public here. 38-66 against the spread. Not good. The NFC West continues its domination of non-NFC West teams this week. Remember, the last 2 weeks, we have seen the NFC West play each other. The 4 teams, they've just flip-flopped. So now we had Rams 49ers and then Rams Cardinals. So now they get to go play outside the division this week. 18-7. 18-7 for the NFC West, taking on everyone else in the NFL. Again, these are, I think you have to look at, even with the numbers being kind of crazy, the Tampa Bay Bucks are at the Rams. This would factor into that. Jacksonville is at Arizona. That would factor into this. Seattle is at Tennessee. That would factor into this. Okay. And then you've got Carolina at San Francisco on Monday Night Football. 18-7, 4 games all outside the division. That's the best mark through week 11 for any division since 2016. So if you're on like the fringe of taking one of the 2 teams, this could push you over the edge to take an NFC West team, ATS wise, 18-7 against a non-NFC West team. The Chiefs are the 15th team since 1990 to be 5-5 straight up or worse, and then be favored against a team with an 80% win percentage in their 11th game or later. Got all that? It's kind of crazy, but the Chiefs are 500, and the Chiefs are favored against the Colts, and the Colts are 8-2. Those previous 14 teams went 14-0 straight up and 12-0-2 against the spread. What's the number right now? This might be my favorite bet of the week. It's 3.5. Darn it. It was 3 on Tuesday when I bet it. My favorite bet of the week, I think, is the Chiefs laying 3 against the Colts. Okay. I think that's my favorite bet of the weekend. I think this is going to be, I think you get the best game of the season for Kansas City at home against the Colts. I think they play a relatively mistake-free game. I don't see turnovers. I think this is going to be, I like the Chiefs a lot. I like the Chiefs a lot here on this because I don't like Indianapolis at all in this spot. This I think is a borderline exposure type game for Indy, even with Indy coming off a bye. I do really like the Chiefs this weekend. I like the Chiefs as much this weekend as I liked the Cowboys on Monday night or Sunday. No, yeah, on Monday night against the Raiders. I think this is back against the wall time for Kansas City at home. I want 3 though. I don't like 3.5. I like 3. Chiefs -3. I have a hard time seeing the Chiefs lose this game on this. Yes, good. Friendly reminder, you can click on the gear icon to check the stream quality. Realize I've been watching Matt at 720p when I could have been seeing him in glorious 1080p for the entire stream. Yes, make sure you guys can go ahead and do that. Yeah, Roger, I hear you. I like the coach. That's your team though, but I like the coach long term, but not this week. Yeah, give me the Chiefs. Shedeur Sanders will be the 18th different starting quarterback for the Browns, making his first career start in the regular season since they came back to the NFL in 1999. The previous 17 quarterbacks who made their first ever start for the Cleveland Browns lost every game. 0-17. If you have the cojones to bet the Browns this weekend against the Raiders, be my guest. Okay? Be my guest. Even with how bad the Raiders looked, even with the pathetic nature, this game is an underplay of underplays. Okay. The automatic fire on the under for the Browns and the Raiders. I think you take the Chiefs you take the Browns plus the points. Okay. It was 3.5. What's the number now? Hold on. It was 3.5 on Tuesday. Yesterday. It is currently 4 on the Browns. Let that number climb and take Cleveland. I don't think the Chiefs, I don't think the Raiders win the game big. And look, would it be stunning if all of a sudden the Shedeur Sanders train leaves the station and they win? It is the Raiders after all. But to me, I still think the Raiders win. But 4, yeah, I'm taking the 4. Browns +4. But the under is a better play. Best play in the game is under 36. Both offenses are absolute garbage in that game. Let's make some picks for tonight. Yeah, if he wins, I've tried to stay away from the Shedeur Sanders stuff because it bores me. But I got some people and friends of mine in the media that this is their pet topic. That Shedeur Sanders, the behavior of the media, the behavior of the Browns, the overall NFL's attitude towards Shedeur, how he should have been a first-round pick, and how everything is totally stacked against. Okay, I don't know, man. This feels very much like somebody's pissing on me consistently and telling me it's raining when I'm watching Shedeur Sanders. Everyone tells me how good this kid is and how great of a quarterback he's going to be. And then I watch him and I'm like, Are you watching when I'm watching? Like oh, well, he didn't take any reps with the first team. Okay, that sucks. He was 4 for 15. Like, just generally throwing the football, right? Like, forget the play call. They're just throwing the football in a football game. You can kind of look at it and you're like, that doesn't look too good. Like, there's not a lot of confidence there. Like what are we doing? Like, I just, again, I'm not doing anything but looking at the TV screen, watching him play, and everybody tells me how good he is. And I keep on waiting for that player to emerge. Not the guy who played in the third preseason game against guys who are serving Starbucks right now. Like, I mean, like real NFL defenses. I'm sorry. I don't. And again, I'm backing the Browns. I'm telling you to back the Browns this weekend. I like the Browns +4, but I don't like. How do I feel about Dylan Gabriel? I mean, Dylan Gabriel's an elf. He's tiny. I didn't like Dylan Gabriel either, but that's why both those quarterbacks were taken where they were taken in the draft. One in the 3rd round and one in the 5th round. And these are, 20-1 bets. All right. These are 6-leg parlays. Like, you're just trying to hit on 1 or 2, right? You're just hoping. You don't know. You think you might have something, and there might be something with the release for Dylan Gabriel, and there might be something with the arm strength for Shedeur Sanders. Okay, like, but you don't expect them to actually be in the league. If you did, they would have gone in the 1st round. Do you know how many problematic players get drafted in the 1st round because of talent? Talent solves everything. It does, right? I mean, to put it in like looks terms, it's like, okay, why do guys keep on dating the insanely hot girl who's insane? Because she's insanely hot and they put up with the nonsense. The same thing with quarterbacks. If they're really good, teams will put up with the nonsense. Shedeur's not that good, so teams don't want to put up with the nonsense. They don't care. The kid has all the money he would ever need. He doesn't have the same type of gun to his head that other quarterbacks do that come into the league. He wants it. He doesn't need it. It's a big different thing. I always talk to my daughter about this. There are wants and needs in life constantly. What do you want and what do you need? If you need to be successful, you will be successful. But if you just want to be successful, I mean, everybody wants to be successful. What's the motivating factor? What are you willing to do? Right? Like, I talk to my kid all the time about, like, do you want, like, my daughter has dreams of being an artist, right? My daughter wants to play guitar. My daughter wants to perform. My daughter has all these big things. And whenever she says, like, Dad, do you think I could do that? My answer is always the same thing. How hard do you want to work for it? Like, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because I wanted to do this, and I was told I would never do this. I was told I would never have a career in broadcasting. And so I went and lived in Virginia, Alabama, Omaha, Des Moines, Houston, New Hampshire, Las Vegas, because I was willing to make sacrifices to do what I wanted to do because it was worth it to me. The trade-off was worth it. People would say, you've missed Christmases and holidays and birthday parties and showers. And I've said, yes, you were right on all of that. And it's been hard. It was hard for a long time for my family to expect or to accept that I was willing to do that. That I was willing to sacrifice all those moments because of the joy I got from my career. And that was hard because that's a selfish, self-serving statement to make. And it was hard for me as a man to admit that publicly, privately, in relationships, that I'm willing to sacrifice a Saturday afternoon with you at an apple orchard because I want to be watching a college football game and I want to be at that game. That's what I want to do. So I don't want to do what you think I should be doing. I'd rather do this. And I'm happy doing that. Well, I have the same question about Shedeur Sanders, and it's difficult because I don't think he needs it, because he doesn't need it. He wants it. So I just think there's a big difference between the two. And that's not anything to do with some of the other crap that comes up with Shedeur Sanders. Okay. I don't personally believe there's just like this big racial conspiracy to keep him down and that a strong black man can't be a quarterback in the NFL. And so like he's too flamboyant. Well, again, there are certain people in the sports world that I don't care what color they are, the attitude and their actions are problematic. Okay. When I saw Shedeur Sanders walking around to opposing fan bases and pointing at his $100,000 watch and pointing at them and taunting them with it, I was like, I'm out. Like I'm just, that's not my, it's nothing to do with anything else besides I don't want a leader like that. I don't want a quarterback like that to be on my team. I don't want a guy. If I'm a Browns fan, I would not want a quarterback who behaved like that in college. It's the same thing with Angel Reese. And people are going to flip out when I say that because it's African-American female, African-American male. There must be a problem with African-Americans. No, I have no problem with African-Americans whatsoever. I have a problem with athletes that do things that are totally disrespectful. And walking up to Caitlin Clark and pointing at your finger after you win a national championship ended me with Angel Reese. That was it. I was done. Like that was it. I was like, in that moment, I don't care what Caitlin Clark did before. I don't care what her motions with her hand. I don't care what any of that. You won a national championship, and your first decision as a champion was to taunt your opposing player, your opposing superstar. That's it. Like I'm done. Like I'm done with you. Goodbye. So like I don't need those types of players on my teams because I don't think that's a winning attitude. I don't think that helps people rally behind you and want to play with you and play around you. It's been pretty well proven that that type of behavior doesn't help teams. It becomes detrimental. So like that's my whole thing with Shedeur Sanders, that I feel like people are not watching the tape. Like, can we just watch the tape? Can we just like what I'm watching? Maybe he'll be amazing. Okay, maybe maybe he'll be amazing. I'll be so excited to see. You know, he plays great against the Raiders. He comes to Vegas. He lights up Allegiant Stadium, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh!" Again, I would bet the Browns. I would take +4, even with that stat I just gave you. Okay, the stat I gave you is pretty damning in terms of, do you want to bet on a team that's 0-17 because going in because he's the 18th rookie making his first ever career start with the Browns. Every other quarterback in the history, dating back to 1999, every other quarterback since the Browns became a thing, when they came back into the NFL in 1999, every quarterback has lost. Every quarterback has lost. And I'm saying take 4 because I think the Raiders are that bad. I think the Raiders can have a hard time moving the football against that defense. So just on that. Okay. Did I play Just the Picks? I did play Just the Picks. I got on a whole rant. I apologize for that because we have to get back on this. It's time for Just the Picks, being brought to you by the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. You guys can go and download the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet for NBA and NFL prop bets that can happen this week, tonight in the NBA, tomorrow in the NFL. You can compare lines with daily NFL projections. Go to bettingpros.com/props or on the Betting Pros app to go and find the Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Okay, for tonight, I am going to jump in here with the over 49 for CMU, Central Michigan, and Kent State in Maction. These teams haven't played since 21, but the last 6 times these teams played, they have gone over their point total. We have seen Central Michigan be scoring a ton of points offensively. Kent State's defense is not very good, but Kent should be able to put up a decent amount of points here on Central Michigan. I think you get 17 points out of Kent, 17, 20 points out of Kent. You get 28 to 34 points out of CMU. I'm not necessarily going to lay this big of a number for CMU coming up here for tonight. Let's take a look and see where that number is currently. That number right now is at, it's down. It's 7.5. It was 8 last night. So it's 7.5 now, but the total is up to 50.5. So I got it at 49.5. I got 49 last night. So it's up 1.5. I still don't mind it that bad. Under 51, I don't mind. Over Central and Kent State in Maction. The Bruins and the Ducks, gifts and overs in the first period. 7-5 was the score in the first matchup. That was thanks to 4 goals in the third period by Anaheim, but it was 1-1 after 1. You can play the goal in the first 10 minutes in this game if you would like. Both these teams are hitting over 70% of the time to a goal in the first 10 minutes, but that's pretty much the same number for goal for an over in the first period. Dostal is starting for Anaheim. That's their number 1. But the Bruins give up goals and the Bruins score a lot in the first period. Should be an open, up-tempo hockey game here tonight. Bruins, Ducks over 1.5 goals in the first period. I got -135 on that. But yeah, Whitrock, you can do a Santa if you want. That's a goal in the first 5 minutes, which is also a goal in the first 10 minutes. That's a Santa. You hit them both. So I think that's possible. 1 goal hits 2 bets for you if you want to go with that. But I think we do see a score that comes in early. Prop bet of the day is not really a prop bet, but technically it is a prop bet. Okay, so I got a text message last night from my Creighton people. This person who's very close to the Creighton program says, okay, where are we going to dinner on Tuesday night? And I'm like, yo, like, I'm not going to be here. They're like, and the person was like, wait, what? Like, you're always at these games. When Creighton plays in Vegas, you have been there every time. And I said to him, yeah, and you've lost every game in Vegas that I have been a part of, that I've seen in the last 3 years. Isn't that crazy? Every time Creighton plays here and I am and I am there, they lose. So I said, hey, you should probably be happy that I'm not going to be at the game. The team will probably win. They're playing Baylor and then Iowa State. The Iowa State game, me missing the Iowa State game is going to burn because that's TJ Otzelberger, who was the coach of UNLV, who was on Mac's staff at Iowa State, Coach McDermott. I got to know TJ very well in Iowa, and we hung out a ton. We were the same age at the time. We were both single. Like, we would go out and party and have a good time together. He was on Mac's staff. He was an assistant coach. And so I've known TJ Otzelberger for a really long time. And he's a super, I have a tremendous amount of respect for TJ as the man, the husband, the father that he is. And so whenever I get a chance to watch Iowa State and Creighton with Mac and TJ on the sidelines, like, that's a game I'm going to hate missing. But I have to go home to get my shoulder looked at. So my surgeon needs to see my shoulder. If you guys haven't seen, like, I still can't use my arm. My arm is, unfortunately, I can't use it. Like, that's how you're supposed to be able to use your arm. I can't use my arm. So we're on this whole process of trying, and it's nothing to do with the pec surgery. It's the shoulder that was in a sling for 6 weeks is still frozen. And so we did a cortisone shot. The last time I was in New Hampshire, we did a cortisone shot. And so he said to me, I need you to come back in a month because I need to see the progress for what the shoulder is doing. So I need you to come back. So I have to fly back on Monday for an appointment on Tuesday. The Jays play against Iowa State on Wednesday. So that's why I'm not going to be there. But it stinks. BJs do hit different in Vegas, Addison. That is very true. Yeah. No good for the I'm no good for the BJs. That's true. Yep. BJs are overdue for a win. They are. But aren't you always winning when BJs are going on during Vegas? Isn't it always a win? Isn't Vegas always taking care of business? Anyways, on to tonight. The Jays are playing against North Dakota. Coach McDermott coached North Dakota. He has tons of ties to that part of the country. He knows a ton of people up there. It's going to be a very family reunion type environment in Omaha tonight for the Creighton Blue Jays up against North Dakota. The Jays have not shot the basketball well, but the Jays, I think, do shoot the basketball well tonight. I like the team total over 45.5 in the first half for the Creighton Blue Jays. Their game team total is 91.5. So this is, basically half of that. And yet I think the Jays come out and shoot the basketball well in the first half. I don't trust it late in the game because I do think the Jays will, if they're up big against the line's 25.5. So if they're up big, I think they'll pull back and they'll wind up having some of the second and third stringers into the game. So I'm not sure they get over 91 points. I think the first half is a better bet. First half team total for the Creighton Blue Jays over 45.5 tonight at home against North Dakota in college basketball. I'm going to hold the news of the industry story for tomorrow. We've gotten a little long here and I'm teaching today, so I got to get out of here, but I'll hold the news of the industry story for tomorrow because it's a good one. I'll give you a little bit of a tease of it because it's here. The CEO of Polymarket called sportsbooks a scam last night at an Axios event. So we'll talk about that coming up for tomorrow, but that'll be a fun topic tomorrow for the news of the industry. So we'll hold on to that story for tomorrow and do our favorite thing about today right now. Oh, thank you. Our team total lover and Ish love the team total play. Appreciate that. I love talking to brigade members who are having big days and big victories. Favorite thing about today was getting Chad the Dad on the show. How about that? 30s. It's always funny. We spend so much time like talking about winning $1 million and like winning Circa Survivor, winning $18 million, like these obscene amounts of money. And then somebody wins 37,000. That's a lot of fucking money. like that's a lot of money, man. He turned $50 into 37,000 over the course of 11 weeks, picking 11 football players to score a touchdown in the NFL. And he took down Splash Sports' $37,500. Really, took half of it, of $75,000. He took $37,500 down for $50. That's so cool. That's my favorite thing about today. That's such a cool thing. Again, if you guys are in those situations, if you're alive during Circa Survivor, get in touch with me. Let me know. I'd love to talk to you guys. I'd love to do that. I mean, that is in one night. Bang, bang, one night. And I'm glad the guy who he tied with decided to do the chop because he could have said no and they could have gone on. It's not like they could have played for more money. It's either all of it, 75,000, or none of it. If they went all the way through, one got it all, the other would get nothing. I'm glad that cooler heads prevailed and they chopped it and said, you take 37.5, I'll take 37.5, and we go off and we're good. I mean, it's a car. He just won a new car. So that's amen. Amen. Hell of a hit. Hell of a takedown by Chad. And now we get to root him on. Chad the Dad 2 in Circa Survivor. He does have an entry live with 939 left for the 18 million. So he's already way up. He's already in the black. So now he can get pretty aggressive. It's very, very cool stuff. Absolutely love it. That's a good point. We do need the Mike Breen bang. We'll add that tomorrow. Good call, Whitrock. I'll add that tomorrow. Thursday, Bet Chris Arizona Thursday. Adam Bjorn, where in the world will he be? We'll find out. He's got 2 entries in the Circa Survivor contest. We'll ask him what direction he's going for his plays coming up this week, and also look at the betting board for Bet Chris Arizona, where the sharps / as he calls them, the masters, where are they betting their money coming up this week in college and pro? That is tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern time for a Thursday's BVB.